what it is to wake up black, regardless of how many educated gang symbols you have at the end of your name, regardless of how close in proximity you are to white supremacy.
Prosecutors say Monica Cannon Grant took thousands of dollars in donations that were earmarked for her anti-violence nonprofit.
America, the biggest fraud scandal in social justice history just got exposed. The Department of Justice is now investigating Black Lives Matter for defrauding donors out of tens of millions of dollars. And we're talking about $90 million that was supposed to help black communities, but instead went to mansions, parties, and personal vacation. But here's what's really shocking. This investigation started under the Biden administration, which means the evidence of criminal behavior was so overwhelming that even Democrats couldn't ignore it.
The DOJ's investigation reportedly focused on the foundation's handling of donations collected.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. I have been calling this out for a while, and people are attacking me for questioning about where the money was going. Now we have federal prosecutors serving search warrants and issuing subpoenas because this was never about helping black people. It was about enriching grifters who exploited America's genuine desire for racial justice. Let me break down what's happening with the Department of Justice investigation. Federal law enforcement officials have issued subpoenas and served at least one search warrant on the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation and other Black-led organizations that helped spark the 2020 racial justice protests.
Now, at that time, organizers received a surge of more than $90 million.
When the feds start serving search warrants, that's not a fishing expedition. That means that they have evidence of criminal activity, and the numbers here are absolutely staggering. The BLM Global Network Foundation took in over $90 million in donations, guys, following the George Floyd death in 2020. But here's what's really telling about the investigation. It actually started under the Biden administration, the Joey Biden administration. A senior advisor official confirmed that allegations were examined during Biden's presidency, but it's getting renewed attention under the Trump administration. This tells you that the evidence of fraud is so obvious that a Democratic administration had to investigate it. This is how insane our country went in 2020. The media was doing puff pieces on BLM founders while they were literally stealing money from people genuinely wanting to help fight racial injustice. Now, let me tell you about the most disgusting part of this scam. BLM Foundation leaders confirmed in 2022 that they used donations to purchase a $6 million Los Angeles area property with 6 bedrooms and baths. And get this, Patrice Cullors, one of the founders, admitted she hosted parties at this mansion before stepping down in 2021.
I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
Think about the absolute disrespect of this. While black families were struggling, while communities were dealing with the aftermath of protests, these grifters were throwing parties at a mansion bought with donations from people who thought they were supporting justice. But it gets worse. The investigation's been running out of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Central District of California by Bill Asalee, a former Republican assemblyman who previously called BLM a radical organization. But remember, this investigation began under Joey Biden. So this may or may not be about politics. This is about criminal behavior.
I mean, it was music to my ears. As someone that fell for the lies of BLM for so long, I'm so happy to see that they're finally getting investigated and that the truth is coming to light.
Xavier, a former BLM member, said it perfectly, and he's right that this should have happened years ago. Here's where this scam gets really sophisticated. There are actually 2 different BLM entities, and this is how they pulled off this massive fraud. You've got Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. That's the nonprofit collecting all the donations. Then you have BLM grassroots chapters. Those are people actually doing the work in communities. All a grift, by the way.
They go through, they destroy every single neighborhood that they touch, and then all the money that they raise, not a single dollar goes towards anything productive for any community.
This scam was so brilliant in its evil simplicity. People donated money thinking it was going to support local activists and community community work. But the money went to the Global Network Foundation, and local chapters never saw a single dime. The Los Angeles chapter, the flagship chapter where this whole movement actually started, said they never received any of the $90 million raised in 2020. None of it. Zero. They had to break away from their own organization called Black Lives Matter Grassroots just to get control of their own social media accounts. In November 2020, 10 different BLM chapters released a public statement demanding financial transparency from the Global Network Foundation. They were asking basic questions. Where's the money? How has it been spent? Who's making these decisions? The foundation promised to distribute $21.7 million to Black organizations and local chapters, but by June 2021, 8 months later, those funds still haven't been sent out. Now let me tell you about Big Back Monica Cannon Grant's case in Boston, because this shows you a pattern of behavior that we're dealing with BLM. This woman founded an organization called Violence in Boston and positioned herself as a community activist fighting for Black lives.
Boston community activist is going to be sentenced in January after pleading guilty to federal fraud charges. Prosecutors say Monica Cannon Grant took thousands of dollars in donations that were earmarked for her anti-violence nonprofit. However, she spent it on herself. They say she used the money on everything from vacations to rent payments.
Monica Big Back Cannon Grant just pled guilty on 27 federal charges, including wire fraud, mail fraud, making false statements, and filing false tax returns. 27 charges. She and her husband took over $1 million in donations and grants that people gave thinking that they were supporting anti-violence work in Boston. But what was she really doing with the money? She spent it on auto and insurance bills for personal vehicles, extravagant nail salon trips costing hundreds of dollars per visit, high-priced dinners at fancy restaurants, a vacation to Maryland, and personal expenses that had nothing to do with community work.
Corrupted, but in retrospect, when you see how shady these people have been since the beginning, I really do believe that it's always been a grift, and that the grift just got overexposed right when they got the right opportunity to strike. They saw the opportunity with George Floyd, and they took it and they ran with it.
And here's the kicker. They also took nearly $54,000 in pandemic relief funds that was supposed to help their charity during the pandemic. Instead of using it to help struggling families during the pandemic, they spent it on themselves. Monica Big Back Grant rose to fame organizing protests in Boston after the George Floyd meth death. She was on TV getting media coverage, being celebrated as a community leader, but behind the scenes, she was robbing the very community she claimed to represent. This isn't just isolated to Boston or Los Angeles. There's other cases in Atlanta with a man named Tyree Page who claimed to be a BLM leader. The FBI arrested him for allegedly using $200,000 of donation funds for personal use. He pled guilty to wire fraud and money laundering.
Just listen to Jane Pauley on CBS Sunday Morning back in 2020.
Black Lives Matter. Those words describe a movement, and behind them, a woman. Contributor Mark Whitaker introduces us to Alicia Garza.
From coast to coast, people were using the Black Lives Matter name to set up fraudulent organizations, steal money from well-meaning donors. They were exploiting people's concern, mainly the Black community, about police brutality to line their own pockets. And the quote-unquote victims weren't just the donors. They were families of people killed by police. In 2021, families and victims of the accused BLM Foundation of using their relatives' names to raise money without their permission. They were profiting off these families' pain.
And the unfortunate reality is that even if every single dollar is returned to every donor who had good intentions, it doesn't fix the fact that we have irreparable damages to our society and that it created such racial division, something that we hadn't seen in our country in decades.
Xavier made a crucial point here. Even if every single dollar was returned to the donors, it doesn't fix the damage to our society, turning white and Black people against each other when everybody knew racism was a dying issue. Let me tell you what's really messed up about this whole situation. Think about what $90 million could have actually accomplished. We all knew it was a grift, but instead of actually helping people, it went to mansions, parties, nail salons, personal vacations. The people who needed help the most got nothing, while these grifters got rich.
I was a kid who was doing things that kids do, and I was given a shot but most Black kids who were my age at that time are not given a shot. And guaranteed, if I had been a 17-year-old Black girl in West Oakland caught with the same amount of marijuana, I would have spent not just the night, but I would have had a criminal record.
And listen to this insanity. Alicia Garza, one of the BLM founders, says she started the organization because cops gave her a break when she was caught smoking marijuana as a teen. So because a police officer was nice to her, she decided to create an organization to destroy policing in America. Good job. Does that sound insane to anybody else or just me? As a young Black girl, she should have been allowed to break the law. And because a nice police officer helped her get away, that inspired her to start an organization to scam the country. Kudos. Here's what's really telling about the whole situation. The current BLM Global Network Foundation claims they're not a target of federal investigation, but their largest tax filing shows that they still have $28 million in assets as of June 2024. $28 million, while local chapters are struggling to fund basic community programs that we know don't work. The foundation is sitting on tens of millions of dollars that should be helping communities, allegedly.
Critics of the nonprofit foundation and of the BLM movement broadly accused organizers of not being transparent about how it was spending the donations. That criticism grew louder after BLM foundation leaders in 2022 confirmed they used donations to purchase a $6 million Los Angeles area property.
The foundation's purchase of that $6 million mansion with 6 bedrooms and bathrooms using donor funds shows you exactly where their priorities were. Not helping communities, but living lavishly off of people's generosity and pain. America, this Department of Justice investigation into Black Lives Matter is long overdue. For years, I've been asking questions about financial transparency while people call me heartless for wanting to know where the money is going. I wasn't being anti-Black or anti-justice. I was just being pro-accountability and pro-community. Monica Big Back Cannon Grant's guilty plea to 27 federal charges shows exactly what I've been warning about. These aren't community leaders. These are grifters who saw an opportunity to exploit Americans' genuine desire to fight injustice and use racism as a cause. The real tragedy here isn't the $90 million stolen. It's the trust that was broken, the communities that were betrayed, and the racial division that was created by people who claim to be fighting for unity. When I was calling this out months ago, years ago, I was just trying to protect Black people from getting scammed because we knew initially when we saw this, it was a grift, not actually helping communities. It was enriching opportunists. This started under the Biden administration. The evidence of fraud was so overwhelming that the Democratic administration couldn't ignore it. Real change requires real integrity, not just slogans and fancy websites. The people who got hurt most by this fraud are the very people the movement was supposed to help. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comments section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.